Right now, we'll warm things up. We'll bring in Arthur Schwartz. It's time for Arthur Schwartz, the food maven, who joins us on a Monday morning, and we're always glad to hear from Arthur. Good morning, Arthur.
Good morning, but gird yourself for the heat wave later this week.
Yes, exactly right. It'll come back. Yes, it will.
Enjoy the brisk air of the morning here. I am. So I'm rediscovering a food I thought I had long discovered, and that's plain yogurt, meaning not Greek yogurt, meaning a more liquidy, more version of what now everybody is eating is Greek yogurt. I'm trying to think when Greek yogurt became the thing, and it's not that long ago, is it? It can't be more than like 10 years or maybe a little longer. But listen, I'm old enough to remember when yogurt was very exotic. I mean, any kind of yogurt. Dannon was, of course, the yogurt of our youth. You know, do you remember Dannon?
Absolutely.
Does anybody? I mean, it's still out there. Basically, Dannon owns the world, even though it's not always called Dannon. It owns the yogurt world, and it was, in fact, founded as Danone with an E at the end, French pronunciation, except that it wasn't French. It was Ladino because the founder, Isaac Dannon, not Dannon at all. Now I'm going to forget his last name. Casella, I think it is. I'll find out. Anyway, he Isaac, the patriarch of the family, was a physician, a Sephardic Jew, settled in Barcelona when he was allowed to. Many years, 500 years after his people were kicked out. He himself was born in Greece, in Salonika, which was a very Sephardic town. So he knew about yogurt always. His son was Daniel, and in Ladino it's Danone, and that's why he named the company Dannon. It became Dannon later on so Americans could say it. And he was also the person who invented flavored yogurt. Only in the 50s did they start adding jam at the bottom of a container of yogurt, and you could buy strawberry yogurt, blah, blah, blah. I think people nowadays, actually, when they think yogurt, they think of flavored yogurt, and there's so many products on the market. I haven't tried any of them. I shouldn't say that. I've tried very few of them. There's one of them that comes in tiny containers. I liked that idea, that it was a very small portion, and I could just, snack on it for under 100 calories. But I'm over that. Now I would much prefer to take a couple of spoonfuls of my nice regular yogurt. I buy either Stonyfield or Brown Cow. It ends up they're both the same company. Did you know that?
No.
Made in New Hampshire these days. I mean, they have a long history of being made in other places, but both those yogurts are made by the same company in New Hampshire now. And they're both excellent products. I like the Brown Cow. It has a layer of cream on the top, although we always stir the cream into the yogurt. And the Stonyfield does not. They are much tangier than the Greek yogurt that everybody's stuck on these days. I buy 5% Faye. However, I also like other brands, and it depends on what market I'm in, which brand I'm buying. But Faye seems to be the best distributed. And I started out, like everybody, saying, oh my, this is so rich for no fat. And I would buy the no-fat Greek yogurt. But I'm off of that because it really is starchy on my tongue. It doesn't have a good texture at all. And I don't need to be zero fat with the yogurt. For zero fat, I'll eat lettuce. Anyway, I buy the 5%. That's the full fat. And in fact, I think when this Faye started marketing in the States, there wasn't even a 5%. I think maybe 4%. Whole milk was the highest, but now they have 5%. And that's like, eating cream. So it's not anymore my everyday yogurt, even though Bob likes to keep it in the refrigerator for what he would call an emergency dessert, meaning there's nothing else in the house. And in that case, he's extremely happy with Greek yogurt drizzled with honey. And to say that that may be one of the most ancient ways of eating yogurt is not exaggerating. Honey, of course, was the sugar of the ancient world. They did not have refined white sugar or even unrefined brown sugar. They had honey and other sweeteners, but not all natural nectars, so to speak. And for instance, there's one that I have in the house, and that's a syrup that results from my cooking figs in red wine with sugar. I do add sugar, but and you don't have to add sugar, because if you cook this down far enough without the sugar, it's still pretty sweet. So it's sort of a fig wine syrup. Anyway, back to what you can do with Greek yogurt. The other thing, you just add a spoonful of preserves. I'm not sure why you have to have, unless it's a little snack thing to carry with you, yogurt with preserves in it. Anyway, the sweet use of yogurt, everybody knows about. I don't need to tell you. Well, except that if you wanted to add some chopped walnuts on top of the Greek yogurt with honey, that would be sublime. That really is food for the gods. But I eat yogurt in the morning, and I don't want that rich yogurt necessarily. So I have and whole milk yogurt is pretty rich. A Stonyfield or a Brown Cow or whatever brand you like of regular whole milk yogurt is pretty rich. Excuse me. Right now, I'm having it on berries. I had a bowl full of cut up strawberries with some yogurt and a sprinkling. Don't need too much, especially if you're on a low carb diet. This is a good one, since yogurt has practically no carbs, and no more than milk. And the berries, strawberries, are the lowest carb, best fruit for a no carb person, or even blueberries. I actually have been getting very good blackberries, surprisingly, for very cheap, like under $3 a container. The container doesn't hold that much, but that's still pretty cheap for blackberries. Nectarines. I bought some exquisite nectarines the other day, cut up with yogurt and a little sprinkling of breakfast cereal. By the way, we use a breakfast cereal. It's a Kellogg product called Complete. Maybe they're not calling it Complete anymore. They call it Wheat Bran Flakes. It's Complete Wheat Bran Flakes. So, interestingly, this cereal disappeared from the supermarket shelves for months and months, and Bob started buying it online, where the only way he could get it was in single-serving boxes. And so we get this crate of single-serving boxes delivered, and then you got to find some place to keep them. But we did. Anyway, in a supermarket last week, all of a sudden, the cereal is back. And it's not only back, but it's in bigger than the other kinds of cereal boxes. It was in this enormous box. So I don't know what's going on with it, but it's the lowest sugar, highest fiber, edible, a cold cereal that we've ever found. So we're addicted. And I use it, even at night if I want a dessert, and with something crunch on it, yogurt with whatever I'm sweetening it with, and a sprinkling of this cereal is really a good dessert. Anyway, those are the sweet uses, but I use yogurt in many savory things, and lately I find more than usual. For instance, I've been making salad dressing with yogurt and tahini and a little bit of garlic and salt. And that's it. If you have to thin it out, just add a few drops of water. But if you use regular yogurt as opposed to Greek yogurt, the consistency is perfect. Whole milk yogurt, I would say for a half a cup of yogurt, you want to use no more than a tablespoon of tahini, one smallish clove of garlic crushed or chopped very fine, and a big pinch of salt, and mix that all up. And if you have an herb to add, even better. Now, I don't have access to lovage, but I bet you a lot of our listeners do. And if they don't, they should plant lovage in their garden because it's perennial. It tastes like the leaves taste like cucumber. It's very delicious. It's very hardy. Northwest corner is perfect climate for it, and it comes up early in the spring. So when you need something finally in March or April, let's say, you have to have something fresh and green. You've got lovage in the backyard. Anyway, lovage is delicious, chopped up into this yogurt dressing, but so is dill, and everybody has easy access to dill these days. I think it's in every supermarket, and perhaps not as appreciated as it should be. But dill does not hold up for very long fresh. Maybe I get 3-4 good days out of it, even kept as I do, wrapped in a paper towel in the crisper. Maybe in your refrigerator it isn't gone to as often as mine. It'll hold up longer. But in any case, once you buy a bunch of dill, you've got to commit to making several things using dill. But fortunately, dill goes in a lot of things. Now, one of the things that I've been making with dill is either fried slices of zucchini, and instead of slicing them into rounds, you slice them the long way, and I fry them in olive oil. But you can roast them as well. Just can brush a baking sheet with some olive oil, lightly brush the tops of the zucchini. Maybe you want to sprinkle a little salt on them, and put them in a hot oven until they're tender. And then arrange that on a plate, and on top of that, put a dressing of yogurt, just with a little garlic and salt. If you want to dress that with an herb, all the better. If you don't have a fresh herb, I like to keep dried mint in the house. Somehow I can't find my dried mint. It annoyed me yesterday. I was looking for it, but so maybe I need to buy more. But it's an herb, a dried herb that is really a good dried herb. It tastes sometimes even better than fresh mint, and a little goes a long way, and it's very inexpensive. There are a lot of things going for dried mint. So the dried mint is something I would crush in my fingers over the zucchini with the yogurt and garlic. Another one is yogurt. Now, this is a kind of tarator. Tarator is a generic word. I don't know what language. Turkish, it's probably Turkish. Yogurt is Turkish. Yogurt, probably wasn't invented, but happened. Because what yogurt is milk being consumed by particular bacteria that consume the lactose and make it lactic acid, which is what gives yogurt its tang. And it is speculated that it happened naturally by putting milk into a goat skin or sheep skin, however the ancients were carrying their beverages in those days, and the bacteria inside those skins, even though they were treated, interacted with the milk and created this tangy beverage, would be a beverage at that point. So anyway, it's Turkish. So tarator is a Turkish word, and it refers to any of many sauces, dips, dishes that are made with yogurt and nuts. Now, tahini is ground sesame seeds. That could be a tarator. But this is one I had in a restaurant that I now make at home. And it's yogurt with ground walnuts and garlic. So I put some walnuts in the little mini food processor and get them very, very fine. Add some yogurt, pour it into a dish, and then stir in chopped, already cooked spinach. It could be frozen spinach. I'm big on frozen spinach these days only because it's so hard to get out and find fruit and vegetables without taking your life in your hands. And so I've been keeping frozen spinach and peas in the freezer. So, and I found a Cascadian Farms, I think it's called, organic frozen spinach that's really good, better than the usual. So that's another thing to do with regular yogurt. And of course, everybody knows about yogurt with cucumbers, to salt or not to salt. It depends on my mood. If I'm eating it right away or eating it later. If you're eating it later, you might want to salt the cucumbers, seed and salt the cucumbers after you shred them so that they express some of their liquid, which is mostly, cucumbers are mostly liquid. So that's it. Now, people bake with yogurt, too. And I have a cake that I am extremely fond of, that I haven't made in a long time, but I am going to do it today. Talking about yogurt this morning has inspired me to do this. And this cake is connected to Cornwall, to where I used to live in the northwest corner. One of my neighbors, this is back in the late 80s, one of my neighbors was Laurie Colwin, the novelist and also food writer for Gourmet magazine. She had a column. I think it was called Home Cooking. The book that compiles all these columns is called Home Cooking. Laurie and I, we had mutual neighbors and friends who kept trying to get us together, but somehow it never happened. And then one of our mutual friends opened up an art studio in West Cornwall, and we were all there to celebrate the opening of the studio. And as soon as I got out of my car, this woman rushed to me and hugged me, and it was Laurie Cole, and it was like we were old friends, even though we had never met. So at a party, we really couldn't just talk to each other, so we agreed that we would get together sometime that week. And that week came, and for, I don't know, Laurie's family, she has a daughter and a husband, didn't want to socialize. And we decided, all right, when we get back to the city, we'll have a lunch or something. She died.
Wow.
I mean, suddenly, in her sleep, apparently a heart attack. She was 48 years old. Nobody ever expected this. She was really at the height of her career. And we were all very, very sad. So after, I don't know, a week or two, my neighbor, who was Laurie's good friend, and the wife of Janice, what's Janice's last name? I'll think of it. Bracken, Janice Bracken, was the wife of the Don Bracken, whose studio we had gone to. She came over to my house down the road and said, "I have something for you from Laurie." And she gave me a recipe for a nutmeg cake, of course made with yogurt. And the story is that Janice, who was both a nurse and an artist in her own right, and also had a slew of children, did not cook. I don't know what she fed her family, but I'm sure Laurie didn't approve of it. So one day Laurie gave her this recipe and said, I hate that you buy cake in the supermarket. Here's a recipe. It's really, really easy. You can do it. And I'll never publish this recipe. You can say it's your own recipe. I'm not sure how that works, but that was the story that Janice told me. Janice said, I never made the cake, and I probably never will make the cake. So here, it's your recipe, and if you want, you can publish it. I wasn't going to publish it at first, but it is such a clever cake that I'm going to actually repeat it one more time. What it ends up is, and I've made this for company, they're always amazed, because it's a cookie crust on the bottom and a cake on the top, but you use the same basic batter for both, except that for the cookie, it's not a batter. For the basic part, it's a half a cup of cold butter. That's one stick of cold butter. 2 cups of, you can just dump this in a bowl. 2 cups of all-purpose flour. 2 cups of firmly packed dark brown sugar. I've never made it with light brown sugar. It's possible to do, I'm sure. And 4 teaspoons, now this is the only hard part of this cake, 4 teaspoons of freshly grated nutmeg. Now, this is silly, I know, but I collect nutmeg graters. So I obviously can like to grate nutmeg, but if you really don't have a great nutmeg grater, and you're not used to doing this, usually most recipes call for like a pinch of nutmeg or an eighth of a teaspoon of nutmeg, not 4 teaspoons of freshly grated nutmeg. I will allow you to go to the supermarket and buy a small amount. I think McCormick does it in those small containers of grated nutmeg, because when you first open the container, it'll be fresh enough. So you want 4 teaspoons of that, and you mix those those ingredients together, basically using a pastry blender or 2 knives. You can pinch it in. You want to cut the butter into the flour and sugar mixture until it resembles very fine meal, like cornmeal. That's what we mean by fine meal. It really will. Measure out 2.5 cups of this mixture, and you spread it evenly, no need to butter anything, evenly in the bottom of a 10-inch springform pan. If you feel very insecure, you can butter the sides of the springform pan. The bottom has so much butter in it that it'll easily come off of it, and you can butter it. You don't need to flour, that's for sure. So that's 2.5 cups, and you spread it in the pan, and then you compress it in the bottom of the pan as evenly as you can get it. It's going to be a cookie crust. Add to that rest of the butter, flour, sugar mixture 1 teaspoon of ground cinnamon and 1/4 teaspoon of ground cloves. Mix those 2 extra spices in. Now you have a nutmeg, cinnamon, clove flavor. And on the side, beat together 1 egg and 1 cup of yogurt. 1 cup of regular, preferably full-fat yogurt. And those are your wet ingredients. Stir the wet ingredient with a wooden spoon. This is all by hand, by the way. Stir the egg and yogurt mixture into the other mixture, and finally, you have to add some leavening. Now, this is the thing. Whenever you make a cake or whatever with yogurt or buttermilk, or buttermilk, you have to use baking soda in combination, because it's the acid of the soda and the acid of the yogurt or buttermilk and the alkaline of the soda that creates a chemical reaction that creates carbon dioxide that helps raise this product. So in a small bowl, mix the egg and yogurt together, and then stir that into the dry mixture. Sprinkle the baking soda, 1 teaspoon, and really try to get it over the surface, meaning try to sprinkle evenly. And then gently, but stir it in thoroughly. Spread the batter over the mixture that was pressed into the bottom of the pan and smooth it out on the top if you need to. And you don't need to do this, but, Lori did it and I do it, and sprinkle the top with 1/2 cup of coarsely chopped walnuts. It gets baked in a 350-degree oven, more or less in the middle of the oven, for 50 to 55 minutes. A cake tester will come out clean when it's done. But and of course, look at the sides. You always can tell if a cake is done if the cake is shrunk slightly away from the pan. As soon as you start cooling it will. So look at it when it's in the oven, And if you don't see the tiniest little separation, put it back in for another 2 or 3, 4, 5 minutes, and cool it in the pan. By the way, take it out of the oven, let it cool in the pan, and then you should be able to take the sides off rather easily. If you think it's a little close, you can run a sharp-bladed knife around the edge. This is a great cake, and it will last for days if you don't eat it all up, or you don't have company that's going to eat it all up, because it's extremely moist. And any cakes baked with yogurt, I find, or buttermilk, have last a long time.
Well,
now I've got to see if my brown sugar is viable.
You know, my first introduction to yogurt when I was a kid, I was overweight, but my mother's cousin, Ken Summers, who passed away a year ago, great guy, was overweight, and he came up. Like back in those days, families used to go visit one another, and he came up with his family from New Jersey, and he had lost like 50 pounds from the previous year, and he did it by eating yogurt.
Well, it was, in fact, a significant diet food back then. Most of the yogurts that people eat these days are not diet food. They have so much sugar in them.
He used to add, like, pineapple chunks to it. It was just plain yogurt, but he would add, like, raspberries or whatever. He would add different things to it.
How old was he when he died?
He lived to be around, trying to think, 88, you know.
Good for him.
Yeah.
Fat guy.
He thinned right down, never gained it back.
Wow.
He was one of the early employers at the Standard Oil of New Jersey. And
let me add, yogurt is extremely healthy.
Yeah.
And even if not a diet food, but it can be a diet food. And I remembered this, but Mr. Dannon, his name I'm now, not Isaac, not the original, but his son, Daniel, for whom the product is named, he died only a few years ago at 103.
That's amazing.
So I think, he proved that the product works.
But the story about Kenneth was he went to work for Standard Oil, right? And instead of taking raises his first 5 years, he took stock in the company.
Oh.
When he passed away, his family
that'll buy a lot of yogurt.
Got a whole lot of money. So the yogurt must have also helped his brain, because what a smart thing to do.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Back in the good old
I have
days.
to say, yeah. He was a smart guy. So, and he lived to 88. Good for him.
Yeah. He always lived to 88. So
I wonder if he still ate yogurt when he was an adult.
I'm positive.
Because he liked it.
I'm positive he did. But like you said, yogurt has changed over the years.
Yeah, it's dramatic. Well, yes, but the original Dannon yogurt was a great product.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'm sure that I haven't bought plain Dannon. It's interesting. There have been days I've been in the supermarket where they do not have plain yogurt. They'll only have non-fat yogurt and all kinds of yogurt with sweeteners of one kind or another, and no plain. Even I don't mind 2% yogurt, whatever, but I prefer whole milk. But still, there is none, because that must not be popular. What's popular is the no-fat yogurt, which is in fact diet food, and helps you live. And there was a time when they thought that longevity was connected to yogurt, that because the countries that have where people have very long lives are also yogurt-eating countries, but they also have other things that are similar, including lifestyles that aren't as high pressure as American lifestyles.
All right. Well, I hope you don't.
Let's not go there.
Yeah, no. I hope you don't have.
No, I'm going to go see if I have enough brown sugar to bake this cake this morning without leaving the house.
All right. Well, I hope you do.
This is a new challenge, every day. What can you do? I do leave the house to take a walk, but not to go shopping.
All right. Well, we will speak.
All right. Anyway, have a great week. Stay safe. I'm in the middle of everything here. There was actually a riot on my corner 2 nights ago. So it's noisy.
We're living through an amazing time right now. Is all you can say. That's all you can say.
Yeah. All right, I'm only a quarter of a mile away from the Barclays Center. So
yeah.
You know,
that's there you go. That's it. Yeah.
Well, I don't know what's happening today, but so far everything's calm and cool.
All right. Well, like we said, stay safe, and we'll speak to you next
Yes.
week, Arthur.
Take care.
Take care. That is Arthur Schwartz, the Food Maven, here on Robin Hood Radio and RobinHoodRadio.com. Underwriting support for Arthur Schwartz, the Food Maven, John Andrews Restaurant on the Hillsdale Road in South Egremont, 413-528-3467, and on the web, jarestaurant.com. Rubiners Cheesemongers and Grocers on Main Street in Great Barrington, 413-528-0488, Rubiners.com. Hillsdale Home Chef, more information, 518-325-7000, hgshomechef.com.